Hello, so here's an interesting little video. I didn't even know I'd be getting this until yesterday. So this is a Spanish Star Z70 Sub-Machine gun. Deactivated sadly because we're in the UK. But these are actually really cheap for what they are. Because the weird thing about deactivated gun prices, going off on a bit of a tangent, in the UK is there's some guns that on rarity, you know, are expensive and you'd expect them to be expensive. But then there's lots of guns that are just stupidly expensive for no reason, I guess because of the fact that they're iconic guns even if they're mass-produced, so all of the sellers think they can get more money for them, you know, so it's an artificial kind of price increase thing. So I've always wanted to buy a Sterling, but Sterling submachine guns, despite how mass-produced they are generally pretty expensive for what they are. You know, I don't want to pay between £500 to £1,000 for a mass-produced British submachine gun, where, you know, a less mass-produced Spanish submachine gun that copies lots of elements of the Sterling is cheaper. So anyway, I'll go over a very quick history of this. So there's several Forgotten Weapons videos on the Star submachine guns of this period. So there was one Star submachine gun that's basically a Sterling copy. There's a couple of different features, but, you know, watch the Forgotten Weapons video for that. So basically, Spain did a Sterling copy, and then they decided that they were going to, you know, make some of their later submachine guns actually a bit different, but a lot of the features carried over. So, as you can see from looking at this, lots of this does look like a Sterling, especially if you know, had it that way around, you'd probably see that. Because obviously it has a bottom-loading mag, not a top-loading mag. But, basically, they did a few different designs, and this is the one where they basically just did a conventional bottom-loading magazine, but as far as I'm aware, most of the internals are quite similar to a Sterling in terms of how, like, the, you know, bolt carrier works and everything like that. So it's got a bottom-loading magazine. I assume it's 30 rounds. The only issue I found with this is the magazine can be quite stiff to take out. Let's see if I can get this out. I only take it out once to show you, but yeah, this is, one of those mags where the mag release doesn't seem to really, there we go, right. So I've got a blank loaded in there just to show you, but that's obviously a 9mm mag. There's obviously a thing on the side so you can see how many rounds you got in it. But the downside of that is obviously that dirt can get into it. But I think this is primarily for police use. I think obviously the army used them as well, but it was primarily like a police use thing. So thankfully with this one, even though it's deactivated, I can't show you inside of it because that's welded on. The end cap is welded on, so you know all of that is there. But what I can show you, so it's got a charging handle that's actually more like a FOW, or like a Bren, you know, like the folding charging handle. But what I can show you is if I open that up, you can see where they've deactivated, they've welded the thing in between the magazine and the sort of top of the receiver, so basically rounds can't go into the chamber or into battery, however you want to say it. But yeah, that's how that works. But obviously if you rack it fully back, and that slams forwards and closes itself. Quite a stiff spring on that. But anyway, so let's put the magazine back in. So putting it in, has that gone in properly? I think so, I didn't really hear it click, but there we go. So that's, I'd say, the worst feature of this gun, even from a deac I can tell, is that the magazine weld doesn't seem brilliant on it. But maybe this particular one has a not a very well made magazine weld, because I know with PPSHs, for example, that's one of those guns where even though the PPSH itself was very good, there was lots of magazine quality control issues, and you know, some guns just didn't like certain mags. So anyway, this is basically obviously a military and police sort of submachine gun in 9mm. And it's pretty, you know, good at that. There's videos on Forgotten Weapons of channel, you know, of it being shot. But anyway, so very compact. Has a cool sort of shrouded barrel I really like the look of, that like the Sterling has. So anyway, it's got a folding stock, which is surprisingly good. So obviously it doesn't clear the magazine like that, but then you flip this bit, and it does, or should do. Let's see if we can get that to actually clear the magazine. Yeah, that's weird. That worked absolutely fine earlier. I wonder if the magazine isn't actually in properly. So here you go. You know, that's probably why. I bet, yeah, that didn't actually. There we go. Right, that's clicked properly in. So now we can flip that, and yes, there we go. But yeah, that does prove my point of, you know, the magazine not being the best quality sort of bit, or the least the mag well on this. But as I said, that might not be specific to this submachine gun. It might actually just be the particular deactivated one I've got, and it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be shooting it anyway, because obviously it's a deactivated firearm, so you can't shoot it. So you've got the folding stock, and when it's put backwards, it locks using this bit. So to unlock it, you push that bit forwards. Obviously we're going to keep it locked now. And then obviously you lean into it and you get a sight picture. So obviously there's nobody behind the camera because I'm not Alec Baldwin, and that's a horrible joke, I know, but I don't like the bloke. I feel sorry for the woman he shot, but obviously that's going off subject anyway. But so anyway, that's how it works. So you've got the folding stock, a bit like an MP40 stock, or, you know, an AKSU stock. Any of the folding, you know, AK type guns where you've just got a very simple sort of, you know, unfolding stock. Obviously not as good a folding design as what the Fowls had, and a couple of other guns that used this sort of, you know, the Galil sort of Uzi folding stock, which is much better in my opinion, because it swings out from the side and is a better stock. But this is obviously lightweight and good enough for a submachine gun, because you're not going to be shooting this accurately at long ranges anyway. And then so yeah, you lean into it, and you've got 100 and 200 yards on the sight, and yeah, it's just a simple, obviously, two sort of ring sight. There's probably a proper name for those peep sights, isn't there? But you've got a rear ring, and then you've got the front sort of shrouded thing. So yeah, the only thing I would say that's a bit annoying of this is you can't hold it like that as you'd want to, because obviously your thumb then blocks the sight. So I'm assuming you're meant to hold it where the magwell is, like that, because it does seem like the magwell is slightly reinforced on this. So I assume you're meant to hold it like that, which I guess is comfortable enough. But again, you know, these were designed to be lightweight submachine guns, so obviously a lot of the sort of, how would you say it, like, you know, the ergonomics, I guess is the proper word, that you'd get with a slightly heavier gun, a cut down, you know, to make it more compact and lightweight. It becomes a bit less, you know, handleable, for the sake of the fact that you can carry it around all day and it doesn't weigh much at all. So yeah, it's a nicer gun. This has a 3-stage safety on it, as in safe, semi, and auto. The trigger is on how this has been deactivated isn't actually going to make a difference depending on how I do the safety, so that's not going to do anything, how they deact it. So yeah, visually I guess it looks a bit like an MP40 kind of design. Obviously I know the MP40's got Bakelite on it and everything, but, you know, in terms of the actual shape of it, and mechanically, as far as I'm aware, it's basically a Sterling, but with a bottom loading magazine. But yeah, it's a cool thing, and these are at least very cheap, and again, because of YouTube policies, I can't tell you where I bought this, but let's just say most of the UK deactivated gun sites have these in between £200 and £300, because they've just turned up again. I know Lewis did a video on these about a year ago, and so I'm assuming it's just one of those guns where lots of them regularly get deactivated and sort of sold in big numbers, or, you know, in countries where you can buy them legally as automatic firearms, or just semi-autos, they're converted, or, you know, sold as is, and in the UK they get deactivated and then, you know, essentially mass sold here for cheap. But it's cool, you know, because if you wanted to buy a fairly cheap submachine gun just to own a deactivated gun or whatever, you know, there's this. And I said, if you want to see how the stock folds, so yeah, you hold that in, obviously that goes there, that clears that, and then you put that there like that, and then that acts obviously as a foregrip sort of thing if you want to hold it like that and fire it from the hip. But obviously you're kind of meant to lean into it like that, aren't you, if you're firing it from the hip. But it's not really practical. I guess that's only really done in an emergency, you know, if you had it on the sling, I guess, over your shoulder, you know, somebody jumped out like a terrorist or something, you were sort of mowed them down. But there you go. So it's a cool thing. I mean, I'm really pleased that these are so cheap, because as I said, it's not really an iconic submachine gun, because it's, you know, a Spanish kind of copy of a Sterling, and then several derivatives down they changed it a bit more. But it's one of those just guns that's cheap and, you know, interesting for what it is. And, you know, I do like how compact and lightweight it is. So obviously you've got a plastic handle there, but all of the rest of it is just stamped metal, basically. I know I'm looking down the barrel, it's a deact gun. I think there's some bits they've welded into the barrel as well. And it looks, in terms of like flash suppression, there's a couple of little vent holes there, But I guess with a submachine gun, you're not really going to care too much about suppressing the flash or like a birdcage style suppressor. But yeah, there you go. So, as I said, the magazine on this particular one isn't very good, or the magwell, not sure where the problem lies, but you know, it's quite hard to get the magazine out. Even when you push the switch in, it doesn't really want to move. And then sometimes it seems you have to really slam it in to actually get the magazine to actually, you know, go in. Because one of the things with the Sterling itself is the Sterling actually had really high quality magazines, but obviously the Spanish copies didn't copy the Sterling magazines, unfortunately. Because the Sterling and the Sten magazines were actually interchangeable, but the Sterling had the much higher quality magazines, because a lot of the problems with the Sten were actually down to the magazine, not the Sten itself. But yeah, there you go. So, as I said, if you want to actually know lots about the gun mechanically and everything, watch the Forgotten Weapons videos on them, for obvious reasons, because Forgotten Weapons is a brilliant channel for firearm history. But if you're actually, you know, just wanting to see that you can buy these in the UK, and they're pretty cool, because again, they're very lightweight. You know, you could hold this very easily with one hand like that. You know, that's no issue. And let's see if I can get you a sight picture on the camera. It probably won't want to focus, but yeah, the rear sight is way too small, isn't it, for it to focus? But yeah, basically that's your front sight. It's just your sort of, you know, typical ring with a notch. And again, I think the sight is 100 and 200 meters or yards, but you're not really going to ever use it at those sort of ranges, because these sort of guns are always designed for, you know, close quarter combat type thing, or just police use, you know, where you've got a suspect or whatever that's fleeing, or a terrorist, and you have to shoot them. Because obviously this was made during the Spanish period, where they had a lot of the ETA terrorism. ETA, is it? ETA? Something like that. Because obviously this is a Franco period gun, so it's, you know, Spanish fascist gun. But so I suppose this is the first fascist firearm I own, actually, thinking of it, because I don't have any Italian or German World War II stuff in terms of guns. So yeah, this is my first fascist firearm. But yeah, pretty cool. I've got commie guns, obviously, because they're a lot more mass produced. But yeah, this thing's very cool for what it is. I've rambled on enough, rambled on long enough about it, but. So yes, as I said, I can't name the sites because of YouTube policy where I bought it, but lots of deactivated sites, you know, gun sites in the UK have these, and they retail between £200 and £300, I think, depending on condition and postage. Price is added on, or, you know, not added on, depending on how they've listed it. So yeah, there you go. But if you want to get a submachine gun like this, they're pretty cool for what they are, and if you're lucky enough and live in somewhere like the US, you might even be able to buy a fully auto one, you know, if they were imported before the rules changed on them. Because, as I said, Forgotten Weapons has done a video where he's actually shooting one of these full auto, and I think he said in that, even though the stock looks like it's not very good, once it's locked into place and you're actually using it, it's surprisingly good. Although I think he said it does tend to climb a bit, because obviously with a skeleton stock, they're nowhere near as good as having a full weight sort of stock behind you. You can better, you know, control the climb with. But yeah, it's it's quite cool, and I love the look of these sort of you know, Cold War SMGs, because they definitely have that sci-fi look to them. And again, the Sterling was put with a scope on it in Star Wars as the Stormtrooper rifle, so, you know. But yeah, it's a cool thing, isn't it?